Good evening and welcome to Let's Talk with Lakshmi, a show about us, our people, our community, our culture, our experiences. Viewers, today we're privileged to have Pundit Suresh Sugrim of the Humanitarian Mission of New Jersey, Arya Samaj. He has been very passionately and actively involved in humanitarian work, especially in Guyana. One of his main focuses is on building a shelter in Guyana for battered women and, of course, for children. Pundit Sugrim, it is such a pleasure to have you here on Let's Talk with Lakshmi.
Thank you, and thank you for having me aboard.
Thank you. Well, tell us a little bit about your humanitarian mission.
Well, New Jersey Arya Samaj Humanitarian Mission gave birth to the Humanitarian Mission in 2005. We are a 501 Section C that is registered in the state of New Jersey, but we are also allowed to do humanitarian work, and we have chosen Guyana because we try to help those who we have left behind, who haven't had the opportunity of coming to America. We journey back to Guyana to see what an impact that we can make in these individual lives and how we can change them into positiveness of being real in how they act, how they live, how they communicate.
Right. Now, Panditji, what part of Guyana are you from, and where in Guyana are you focusing this work?
I was born in Scaledon, and a few years I used to work across Guyana, from Essequibo all the way down to Mulson Creek. But then I have come to realize that I'm cutting myself very, very thin, and charity begins at home. And it was important for us to focus where our attentions were needed more. And if you go through Berbice into some of the remote areas, you will see tremendous poverty. You will see so many of domestic violence, abuse, rape, suicide, alcohol, drugs, and I can go on, that has been plaguing many communities across the region in Berbice and other areas across Guyana.
Now, I know one of your main focuses is on battered women.
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask you why. Why do you have this interest?
Well, I have seen the hopelessness, and sometimes in Guyana I was classified to be the voice of the voiceless and the hope of the hopeless. I have seen many instances in Guyana where a man have took a razor and just opened his wife's throat in an evening of school, just 3 o'clock, school had already over. These women become so hopeless that there's nobody there sometimes to stand up to defend or even to represent them sometimes at the national forum. There are institutions and there are government agencies, but some are effective and some are not that effective. But being an American, Guyanese American, go back home and getting involved to all aspects and being partnership with various organizations, we become the voice of the voiceless and the hope of the hopeless.
What is the worst situation you've seen a woman involved in?
I have seen many situations in Guyana that when I go to work the day and I walk the street in the night, just to bring myself down to their mentality, to find out and to know exactly, for example, prostitution. Why would a 15, 16 years old walk the street in the night and get drunk and, for example, per se in Port Moran, somebody finish having sex with her and just kill her on spot, and people passing in the morning picking her up with certain things I'm not even allowed to talk on this show right now, of putting a bottle up in her and so many, abusive.
What are the numbers? I mean, what are the numbers in cases like this?
Sometimes it varies. It all just depends. Sometimes for a year we can get as much as 30, 15, 20, 25 murders of women, and most of it is Indian and Afro-Guyanese women that who is being the victim in the hands of their husbands and boyfriends or living mates, so to speak. Because in Guyana is that if you want to escape from a relationship and you're not fast enough, chances are you're going to get killed. Because there's nobody there to take hold of you, and sometimes by the time the police get to where you're at, you're already a dead woman. I have seen many instances of women with no head on their bodies, and, of men just using a cutlass, chopping them up, so brutal. Sometimes it just makes you wonder, how can another human being put a physical attack into another woman to that extent? Sometimes, as I said, you can't get along, just let her go.
Right.
You come from a mother, you have a sister, you have a family. She doesn't belong to you. She's in a relationship with you. She entered a marriage with you. That does not give you the right to kill her, to treat her that way.
What do you think drives someone?
Well, most of the problems in Guyana is alcohol and drugs abuse right now. And most of the time is that I have done many shows at national levels in Guyana with the Angel Caribbean Band, and I have never at any level promoted alcohol at any one of our shows, and we have been very, very successful. Because the root of Guyana's problem is when these men start to consume the alcohol.
Now, it's very interesting. I'm sure people who are looking at Let's Talk with Lakshmi today are saying, this is a man wanting to protect women, right? I know you're a father. I know you're a husband. I know you're a spiritual leader. But there are people out there looking here that might say it's kind of interesting to see a man sitting here and wanting to step up for women, not just a group of women who usually are the ones wanting to protect one another. What makes you do this? I mean, is there a personal situation that you may
I have left
occurred?
Guyana in 1980, and I have traveled in 1990 to pick my green card up. I was illegal in this country for many years. And I was crossing a Rossignol Stelling, and I have seen a 14 years old and mentally disturbed. She was butt naked, no clothes. And she was walking the Stelling begging. In those days, we had a ferry crossing.
And this is in daylight?
Yeah, bright daylight. It was about 1 o'clock by the time we get on to Berbice at Rossignol. And there were many spiritual leaders were crossing on that flight, going to read yagis and stuff like that. But I stopped for a moment, and nobody take a piece of clothes and wrapped her naked body. I took a pants and a shirt, and I went to an Afro-Guyanese, and I said, I'm not allowed to touch her. Please put this clothes on. And I gave her a couple Guyana dollars I had, and she went away. I came back and I met with our board in New Jersey and said, look, we have a little mandir here, it's already been paid off. What are we going to do with a bank account? We need to open a humanitarian organization, and that's where we give birth to the humanitarian organization.
And how many years have you been in existence?
It was 2005 to the present time.
Now, I know that you guys are building a shelter right now. I know you're almost done with the project. Tell our viewers a little bit about the project.
Our initial plan and our project plan was to build a shelter, but I have walked away from the shelter. And the shelter is that in the end, that many young girls have been having unprotected sex, so to speak. And they will go out and get pregnant, bring their babies, and drop them off to these various shelters. And I know you work with many shelters in Guyana. And by having all of these shelters, you're encouraging them that when they already get pregnant, they drop their baby, it goes into the shelter. And I think in a family structure, we need to take care of our family. It's a planning life. As a man and as a man and a woman, or mother and father getting babies, you need to make plans to take care of that baby. So what we decided to do, with all the shelters that's been blooming in Guyana, in Berbice we have 5, 6, 7, 8 shelters. It becomes like a business. Because all these foreigners and local residents will go in and pour money into the shelters, and it becomes like a havoc of business for the people who run the shelters. Some are foundation, some are private entity. So we talk about education/empowerment. How do we break the cycle of poverty? It's not about handout, it's not about a shelter. We still have in our plans for a safe haven for victims of gender-based violence, because that is an important factor in Guyana. That when a woman wants to escape from her brutal husband, there's no way for her to go.
Really great information here, and it, definitely sounds that your humanitarian mission is doing a lot in Guyana for these women. What we're going to do is we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to go into a little bit more detail about exactly what you guys are doing and how we can help.
Okay.
2 months ago, after my mother's hospitalization, the doctors wanted to put her in hospice. And I'm like, they deemed her terminal. And I saw Mr. Thakur, I think the founder, on TV, and he was advertising this Indian community in Kings Harbor. It's a great Indian community where my mother feels at home, and she expresses her happiness to me whenever I come.
I know when I come I feel happy. I stay couple and I see everybody, and I'm so happy.
I brought my mother here like a month and a half ago, and I haven't regretted my decision. It's one of the best decisions I've made for my mother. It's a home away from home.
Elegant Floral Design. We can help you beautify your events. No occasion is too big or too small. We specialize in floral decor and party planning for every event. Please call 718-322-9786. Please use promo code Lakshmi for a discount.
Nanking chain of restaurants serves a large variety of Chinese, Thai, and Indian cuisine, prepared by seasoned chefs and experienced professionals. Check out one of Nanking's newest restaurants at 134-07 Rockaway Boulevard, South Ozone Park, New York. Nanking proudly serves halal meats, vegetarian, non-vegetarian, and seafood delicacies. Nanking Restaurants caters to private and corporate events for all occasions in their restaurants and banquet halls. Nanking Restaurants, a chain of restaurants which are also conveniently located in South Plainfield, New Jersey, Jersey City, New Jersey, Iceland, New Jersey, New York, New York, Atlantic City, New Jersey, New Hyde Park, Long Island, and the grand opening of their newest location at 134-07 Rockaway Boulevard, South Ozone Park, New York. Reserve your table today at 718-323-3555. That's 718-323-3555. For more information, visit NankingRestaurantGroup.com.
Welcome back, viewers. We are here with Pundit Suresh Sugrim from the Humanitarian Mission of New Jersey, Arya Samaj. We're talking about his recent project in Guyana with the battered women and the shelter. Now, Panditji, we were talking about the shelter. I know it's almost done, and some of the projects that you have there with the women being able to come there. Now, tell me, is there going to be counseling there? How long can these women stay there? What do they receive there? What's going to happen?
It's varied because we're talking about partnership. Partnership is very important to any given NGOs in Guyana and international. We can't do it all by ourselves.
Right.
So therefore we're talking to Help and Shelter, we're talking to Food for Poor, we're talking to a lot of Canadian-based NGOs that is in Guyana. Now, the safe haven for the victims of gender-based violence will be running typical from a Canadian-American point of view. Because in Guyana is that if you and your husband have problems, you said, officer, I'm not going to press charge, story's done. But in this situation, in partnership with NGOs and partnership with the government, it will become a case where the state versus the man. So you just can't walk out of the situation that easily. Like if you dial 911 here, and as long as they take you in, it becomes the state versus the perpetrator. So what we are trying to do is partnership with these organizations and try to keep them as long as we can have them until they are ready to get back into their norm of their family life. One of the things in the project right now is that in Berbice and surrounding areas, there is no jobs.
Right.
So we are looking to break the cycle of poverty through education/empowerments. That way we will be able to have jobs and to create the havoc of job for these inmates. That way they will be able to have a salary and they will not have to depend on that paycheck coming from an abusive husband. Because many of these women in Guyana, they are uneducated. Some are educated, some are uneducated in the rural community. And by not having that skills or having that job, you depend on that money. And most of the cases, by the time the husband come home, the first paycheck goes to the rum shop. And as I have said in the past in Guyana, the wife gets up at 3 in the morning, cook the food, pack his aspirin or his lunch bag. He gets his paycheck, he buys the fridge, he breaks the fridge. He builds the house, he burns the house down. So everything surrounds the man in the home. So what we are trying to do is to have these women equipped so they don't have to depend upon him and put up with all the physical, mental, psychological, emotional abuse.
That's great that what you're saying and what you guys are doing, but are you guys also doing projects to counsel the men?
Well, that's one of the biggest things. We are talking with some Christian organizations in Guyana. I just came back from Guyana and I met with about 5 or 7 young pastors in the community. That was one of our discussions at deportees, which is 1. Person who returned from jail is 2, and person who are the perpetrators in the communities. Because in many instances, men will feel unwanted because they commit certain act, they commit certain crime. They become an outcast. And people just shut their doors on them. And as an organization, in collaboration with other NGOs organizations, we talk about gender-based violence. We're not only talking about the woman, we're also talking about the perpetrator. As much as we educate the women, we also educate the perpetrator. We were very fortunate to get in contact with many of these young children that have been using drugs and alcohol, and there were tons of problems. But as an NGO, we can't handle it by ourselves. So what we are doing, we are partnership with other Christians, faith-based organization to come together as a united front in Guyana to address most of the major issues that has been destroying family foundation, and it's been very successful.
And Pandit Sugrim, what relationship or what help are you getting from the Guyanese government?
We have leased the land from the Guyana government. We got 1.6 acres of land that we have leased, which we are paying approximately about $200 to $300 per year lease. We haven't have anything from the Guyana government. Where we are today is from the benevolence of our Guyanese Canadian donors, where we are in Guyana today.
And as far as fundraising and maybe media, I mean, what support are you getting?
Well, we have done massive fundraising in the past, but with the current situation of the economy right now, and there's no sponsorship, many businesses are under, and things are not well financially in the state here right now. So what we have cut back on our fundraising right now, when we target individual donors. Because when we do our fundraising, sometimes our overhead expenses $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 by the time you finish paying the RTs and rental, and the bulk of the money goes back into expense with a very little margin. So what we do, we target individuals, donors, that will help us to see the project grow.
For donations. So how many people can be housed at this shelter?
Well, when we finish with the second phase of the building, we have 3 phases we are going through with the project. The first phase is finished, which is the Empowerment Center. The second phase will be our senior citizen home and the safe haven for gender-based violence, which we're in partnership with a Canadian organization right now, which is on board with us to help to oversee the other second phase of that project right now. Downstairs will be the senior citizen home, upstairs will be the safe haven for the victims of gender-based violence. We're looking about 40.
Now, I also know that you're doing some work with children.
Yes.
So would children be here too, like an orphanage, or what
no,
exactly
we are not going to
with that?
focus on the orphanage right now, because we look at the growing economy in the country right now and how do we make positive changes. Yeah, that where we have these women and these youth and there is no jobs, basically they're home doing nothing. So what we are hoping to do is to create the havoc of job for the project and for those who are in poverty and sustainability towards the project, because we cannot run this project from a handout concept.
Right. Well, they say you don't give a man a fish a day, you just
well, that's the whole concept.
Teach him how to fish.
That we have made changes, and again, as I said, I'm not ashamed to say to the viewers, we have spent billions of dollars across that country and realized things remain the same or get worse with the passing of time. It wasn't much of an impact. We have built many houses and we gave it to family. We have done so many stuff across that nation, but for some given reason, it remained right where it is. I got worse with the passing of time.
Great work. It's time for a break, so we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk a little bit more about, let's talk about some little personal issues there as well.
2 months ago, after my mother's hospitalization, the doctors wanted to put her in hospice. And I'm like, you know, they deemed her terminal. And I saw Mr. Thakur, I think the founder, on TV, and he was advertising this Indian community in Kings Harbor. It's a great Indian community where my mother feels at home and she expresses her happiness to me whenever I come.
I know when I come I feel happy. I stay a couple days and I see everybody and I'm so happy.
I brought my mother here like a month and a half ago and I haven't regretted my decision. It's one of the best decisions I've made for my mother. It's a home away from home.
For all your special private and professional occasions, no event is too big or too small. We cover it all. Contact the professional source for all your party or special occasion needs. We have you covered at Star Party Rentals. Call us 516-239-2242. Please mention Let's Talk with Lakshmi for discount pricing.
Getting ready to plan that special day? Well, the most important thing is capturing that special moment. No matter what the occasion is, big or small, Digital Photo by Buddy can capture it all. For all of your memorable events,
Whether it is a wedding, graduation, anniversary, sweet 16, puja, baby shower, or 9-day, Buddy will do it all. Just call Buddy at 917-741-9876. Digital photo by Buddy, capturing your memories. Please mention you saw this ad on Let's Talk with Lakshmi.
Welcome back, viewers. We are here with Pundit Sugrim. We were talking about the battered women situation in Guyana, a very high rate in Guyana and of course all around the world. Now, Pundit Sugrim, we touched upon the shelter that you are building in Guyana and how you plan to help women. We touched upon you empowering women, teaching them to find jobs, help them find jobs, help them to educate themselves so they're empowered not to take the abuse. But you know, one very important question that I have for you is your organization, of course, is doing a great job, wants to empower women, and of course we touched upon counseling men as well. Would you guys be more to say to a woman, leave your husband, get a divorce, do this, or would you want to help them and counsel?
In the past years, I had cases where she was said to me, I guess they haven't picked me and me can't left.
Right.
And a couple of months loop around, the man ended up killing her and maybe killed one or two of the kids. What we have done in the past, if you convince me that you're really in an abusive relationship and you want to leave, I'm going to fund you 200,000, 400,000 Guyana dollars. But you have to prove the point to me. How are you going to utilize this money? Are you going to take this $400,000, make a U-turn and go back with your husband? Are you going to take this $400,000, walk away from your husband, empower yourself and empower your children? And we had many successful stories that where that $400,000 have turned into a business, that they create business for themselves, whether it be in poultry, whether it be in a freezer, whether it be in a sewing machine, but something they have started, and they have started to work along, empower themselves, repay the organization, and most of the times we return the money because they have kept to their promises.
So how open are the women to this concept? I mean, are they willing to say, yes, I'm going to work, I'm going to find a job, I'm going to do something to help my family so I can save my life and save my children's life?
Time have turned around that most of the Guyanese and the Indian Guyanese and the Afro-Guyanese women in Guyana, they're very open up now because they have come to realize that remain silent on the issue is not the solutions to the problem. And for them to get help, they have to start to be verbal. They have to talk about it because remain silent isn't going to solve the problems. Many women have come forward and many women have pleaded cases looking for help, just want a place to go, just want a home, just want to get away from that relationship. Some are begging, just take me away, find a place and put me somewhere I'm willing to leave.
Tell me, do you have any personal story where you said to someone, you need to get out, he's going to kill you, and she stayed? Did you ever have a story like that?
I had one story and I was willing to, I went to her home and I saw her situation and I was willing to fund her 500,000, which is 2,500 US dollars. The next week I went back and she wasn't ready, but the other week before I left, she was murdered.
She was murdered.
She and both two of her kids. It was a sad funeral that I had to witness of a mother and two of her children being buried. And he ended up committing suicide.
I was just about to want to talk to you about the suicide situation. I know that you are teaming up with the Caribbean Voice with the whole suicide epidemic in Guyana. Guyana being the #1 country in the world with the highest rate of suicide. Now, situations like this where there's domestic abuse, are these mothers killing themselves?
Some of them, when they can't take it anymore, sometimes they have 4 or 5 children come from very poor families. Parents can't afford to take them back home. Sometimes many parents are old. The husband is young. He will come under the influence of alcohol, start to chop up and beat up and all the different things. So parents can't handle it. There's no brother. There's no men folks in the family to stand up to represent that family. So most of the time they would either stay there, take it as it comes, or they find an escape route. You
mentioned this chopping up. I mean, are things like this still going on in
It's
Guyana?
very rampant in Guyana, and more so with our Indian men. We have it with Afro-Guyanese that For example, cheating. If the wife being caught, chances she doesn't move fast enough, she's gone. Most of these guys will chap and they will chap and they will chap to make certain that she's no longer, she's not alive. And I really can't understand from a relationship concept that you can't get along, or you know, somebody's cheating in a relationship, just leave. You have the freedom of choices. Just leave. Why are you killing her?
Just let them go. I mean, we recently had a story right here in New York City, in the Bronx, where a young man, Guyanese man,
I was in Guyana, I read it in the paper, yes.
Killed his wife because supposedly he heard she was cheating.
We had many stories prior to that in New York also, where Guyanese men have ended up killing their wives. And there's some things that Guyanese men, not only with Guyanese men, I'm not knocking our men folks down, they're in every given race, but dealing with Guyana, and dealing with our people, our West Indian community, most of the time, these men would end up killing their wives and killing the girlfriends. And it's a very sad state of affairs.
Tell me from your point of view, I mean, what is it? Is it a mental imbalance? Is it a lack of control? Is it demons coming on them? I mean, what would you say is causing someone to take someone else's life?
I wouldn't think it's demon. I think the key factor is education.
Okay.
As I have said earlier in one of our interviews here, is that in a relationship, you can't get along. There's no promise that you're going to be forever in a relationship. I was married and divorced. Many people went through marriages and divorce and their various problems. But the point is that that does not give you the right to kill, to ill-treat, or to hurt. You're not signing a contract to stay there forever. You can't get along, you have the freedom of choices that you should be able to leave and walk away healthy as you can come into that relationship. It's a mind thing, it's a mindset, it's about choices.
Partner Sugrim, what message would you give a woman right now that's in an abusive relationship?
My message to any woman that is in an abusive relationship, you have the freedom of choices to leave. Seek help. No man has the right to lay their hands on you, regardless what he may have, or what he may drive, or what he may live in. Your body belongs to you. You have the freedom of choices. This is Guyana. This is America. And I know there are many abusive relationships here, but we want to thank the authorities here that they get on things very quickly. And they handle them from a very professional point of view. But any women that is in an abusive relationship, and you know that you and your family is at the risk of getting hurt or getting murdered, seek help.
And what advice would you give to the men that are looking?
Well, I would say to the man, keep your hands in your pocket. That does not give you the right. Sometimes you get into argument, you're allowed to argue, you're allowed to exchange words, but that does not give you the right to hit, to hurt another person's. There's a very severe penalty in this country, especially on domestic violence, 0 tolerance. As long as that woman picked that phone and dialed 911, they're taking you in. As long as she signed that restraining order, and you should never come back 500 feet, you get caught, they're taking you back in. It's a double dose. But our mothers and sisters have a tendency, God is my husband, is my pick me that he, let me get one chance, and many times they end up getting killed with the aftermath.
Unfortunately.
Because when you finish, just leave, just move on, don't turn back.
Tell me, the next 5 years, what are your plans? Where are we going to see your organization in the next 5 years?
Well, within the next 5 years, our plans with the organization is to educate and to empower. That's the last thing that left on our list in Guyana. If we can't educate and empower, we have no zeal in working in Guyana any longer because of the laziness at the national level.
Now, when you say laziness, what are you talking about?
Laziness is that
at the national level.
Some people just don't want to work. They have health, they have strength, they just look for these organizations and these NGOs that comes in with containers and they will go and join line just to collect. As I have said in Guyana national media, that in America, many Guyanese American Canadians, we plant peppers and eggplants in buckets and all the various stuff. Many of these people have a yard full of grass, but they still can't plant. Yet for all, they're crying the tune of poverty. We are hungry, we are poor, we don't have a job, but there we have land to grow healthy food, eat healthy and stay healthy, but just because of the laziness. I have met many young children in Guyana on my last trip, for 16 years old, and I asked him, do you know to read? No. Do you know to write? No. I went through Rosal and other communities, many interviews with young girls working in the stores. I'm looking for secretaries, I'm looking for treasurers and paid jobs. I don't know to read and write.
Wow.
The education become very little to some of these families in Guyana
Are
because
there
of their
no schools
poverty.
in these villages?
There are
I mean, what
schools
is the
in
situation?
there are
Why are
schools
they
in the
not going?
villages, but what has been happening? There's some daddy run away from their responsibilities. Mommy has been cleaning two buckets of shrimp
Right.
and rub 2 bags of clothes just to get $1,000 to buy food. Is not enough for the child to go to school. Many children dropped out of school, so they go into child labor. People hire them. People with money will play on the poor because they need the labor.
Right, cheap labor.
Yes, cheap labor. And these children don't have the opportunity of having an education because they got to work, they got to become breadwinners, they got to work with their parents because there's no money in their home.
Right. Well, Pandit Sugrim, any last words for our viewers?
What I would like to say to our viewers, whether being in relationship, husbands or wife, respect each other. You can't get along, don't hurt each other. If you see their relationship is coming to that end, just say goodbye, give each other a hug, give each other a kiss, and you see each other along the road, you can say hi. Don't hurt each other. Life is too short and precious.
Well, viewers, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Let's Talk with Lakshmi, where we're privileged to interview Pandit Suresh Sugrim of the Humanitarian Mission of New Jersey, Arya Samaj. Viewers, remember, if you are watching this episode and if you're unfortunately a woman that's being battered or if you're in an abusive relationship, please know that there is help. You can reach out to a family, a friend. There are many organizations, many counseling services out there that are available to you. If you are in Guyana and would like to contact Pandit Sugrim's organization, you can contact them at the below website. Please do give them a call. Do know that your life is valuable and nobody has the right to take that away from you. I'll see you guys all next week, same time, same place. It's a date. Let's talk.